I'm going to be making 5 predictions in the physical therapy and cash clinic space in 2025. I think a couple of these are a stretch, but I think I'm going to be right on most of them. I think 2025 is going to be a massive year, and I suspect a lot of clinics are going to grow a lot faster than ever before. And really, this is where these predictions are going to come from. So I'm going to take guesses and predict how all of these clinics are going to grow faster than they ever have in the year of 2025. So I'm going to hop right into it. My first prediction for 2025 is that paid advertising is going to become the norm. I think in years past, I don't know if it was taboo or people just didn't really buy into. I think what clinics mostly did was they just heavily relied on the local relationship side of things, which I think is 100% correct. That's where you need to start and build your roots for your physical therapy clinic, but there are other ways to get new patients in the door. And I think clinic owners are starting to realize that. And I think the most important thing and why I'm making this prediction that paid advertising is going to become the norm is that clinic owners are now starting to look at ad spend as an investment versus just a liability and something on their P&L. And I think that trend is going to continue because what people are realizing is that even if they're a solo clinic owner, $500 worth of ad spend can get them, you know, a handful of patients in the door. And because I always look at physical therapy as high ticket sales. Because we're in high ticket sales, $500 worth of advertising, if that even just gets you 2 or 3 new patients, that's going to be, anywhere from five to $8,000 worth of revenue generated for you. And if you just do that on $500, then obviously that's a huge return. And I think a lot of clinic owners are starting to realize that. We run, loads of Google ads for clinics through Patch, and I think again, even solo clinic owners, they're more than happy to spend, five, 600, $750 if they're seeing, three, four, five new patients in the door because that ROI is just always there. Your business isn't going to change on just running ads, but again, like the looking at paid ads as an investment versus just a liability is starting to happen more and more. And when you start spending money on ads, you should be seeing at least a minimum 5x return on your ad. So, again, most clinic owners are starting to realize, and why I'm making this prediction for 2025 is, who wouldn't want to put $1 into a machine and get $5 out of that. So I think that's going to become more and more prevalent. I think, a lot of clinic owners as well, and why paid advertising is going to become the norm is because Google is becoming a bigger and easier platform to use. Um, a lot of people spend loads of money trying to get their SEO figured out. And I think clinic owners are starting to realize that they can just spend money on Google ads, and that's going to get them on the top of the page for certain keywords. And Google is becoming a platform that clinic owners can leverage to get really high quality leads in the door of people that are actually looking for physical therapy. So I think, the shift from Meta ads to Google ads is, why again paid advertising is going to become the norm. But I also think there is a place for Meta ads as well, and I think that as people start spending more money on paid advertising and as it becomes more normal, what you're able to do now is take some of the traffic that your Meta ads are driving for you and then retarget those people with a Google ads, Performance Max campaigns like that. This is a little bit more complex on the digital advertising strategy side of things. But if you're spending, a couple $1,000 on ads, you're able to do this and you're able to get a lot smarter with your digital and paid advertising strategy. So I think spending 2 to 4 thousand bucks a month on ads is going to be the standard moving forward, and I think it's going to be a non-negotiable. To be totally honest with you, and I think it's no longer a big deal for a lot of clinic owners as well because they are seeing good return on this investment, and they're looking at it as an investment as opposed to just a liability, which I think is something that's changing in the cash physical therapy space is people are looking at marketing not as an expense but actually as an investment, which I think is super super important. So I think my take on this and why this is my number one prediction for cash clinics in 2025 is ad spend. It's just going to be part of your monthly overhead. It's just going to be something that's on your P&L. It's an investment. It's something that you have to be doing, something that you're happy to do. And most clinics, if you're doing it correctly, you should be getting a minimum of 5x return on that ad spend. And another, I think probably the biggest reason why I think paid advertising is going to become the norm is because people are going to start understanding and realizing that attribution is so hard to track that even if you can't one-to-one understand what your return on the paid advertising side of things is, because there's so many privacy laws in place now, and it's really hard to understand who's coming from where because people don't enable their cookies, or again, iOS has all of these privacy updates. It's really hard to track that stuff. But if you're putting money into advertising and you're feeling that uptick on the in your clinic, then you can attribute that back to the paid advertising strategy. And again, it's part of your marketing strategy moving forward. You're doing the local marketing, you're doing your injury screens, you're doing your workshops, but you're also spending money on paid advertising. So my number one prediction for 2025 is that paid advertising becomes the norm. My second prediction, which kind of builds off of that, and we're starting to see it already. This is something that I did really heavily with Ripple, is that an LBO, a low barrier offer, that's going to become super standard. And I think full price evaluations are dead, to be totally honest with you. And I think it's really hard. I think what most clinics are realizing and understanding is that if you're spending a bunch of money on paid advertising and you're getting colder leads in the door, even if they're coming from Google, even if they're looking for physical therapy, if you don't have that brand trust, selling an evaluation for $200, $250, $300 to someone who doesn't know who the hell you are is very, very hard. But I would rather get that person in the door for the low barrier offer and then upsell them on a package. I'll take that trade all day long. But we can't even get that shot to sell them a package if we don't have this low barrier offer in place. So, much like ads, clinic owners are starting to care less about breaking even or even losing money on leads coming in the door for that discounted evaluation. And really, instead, we're looking at the ROI on the package sale itself. So, the key with this is finding the right price point for you. We really leaned into the $50 evaluation at Ripple. That's just something that we found to be successful. I tested out $99, 50% off, 25% off, $100 off. We kind of threw around all different price points over the course of 2 years, and we ended up landing on that $50. But that's not to say that that is the end all be all. So what you need to do, and why using paid advertising is nice for this, is because you're going to have more shots at figuring out what this LBO is going to be for your clinic. So really the main thing, and where like the buyer psychology side of this comes in, is that the LBO is super important because people need to feel like they're getting a deal when they're coming in. So, when you have that discovery call, you can definitely say like, hey, our single session price point is $250. For your first session though, we would love to have you in for our $99 evaluation special or something like that. Just enough of a discount to get people in the door. And then you can upsell them onto your package, because that's really where your LTV is coming into play. And, if you're running ads and you're tracking CAC and you're trying to figure out what your ROI is, the most important thing for all that stuff is what your LTV is for your customers. So the bigger your lifetime value, so the more money that people spend, the better your ROI on paid advertising, and obviously the more money you're going to make. So that's where I think a low barrier offer becomes super important, because we just need as many people in the door as possible. And the cool part about our cash-based physical therapy offering is that it's head in it's loads above what the normal market is out there. If you're trying to compare a cash-based physical therapy offering versus insurance, obviously it's not even comparable. So if somebody comes in and they experience that, then they're more than happy to pay full price for a package, because you just over delivered during that evaluation. So we really just need to get people in the door. And again, that's where the low barrier offer comes into play. So, when we're talking about conversion strategy, and again, why I think the LBO is going to be something that's happening in 2025 is it's all about like, the magic is kind of in the upsell with this, right? So once they're in the door, once you show them, your packages and the real ROI and that long-term commitment, that's where, people are going to be bought in, and, we're more than happy to take a cut on that first session to get them in for a $2,000+ package moving forward. So again, the LTV is the most important metric. I wouldn't be too concerned about, what your make break number is on that evaluation. What you should be concerned about is how many evals are you having and what is your conversion percentage on those evaluations. If you're getting a ton of evals in the door and you're converting at a 70-75% clip, then that $50 $70 evaluation, whatever you land on, isn't going to matter because you're having more people in the door spending thousands of dollars with you. So, one thing with that too, with this low barrier offer, this doesn't mean that your single session rate is $50. The single session rate should be actually super, super expensive because we don't want anybody taking advantage of that single session. We want everybody on a package. We want everybody on that recurring payments that you can have people in for a 10 or a 15 pack. So that's a really important part of all of this stuff. This LBO and this low barrier offer, and kind of my 2025 prediction is that the evaluation is going to be $50, but your single session is going to be full price, actually overpriced compared to what your package options are. So that's something really important to remember with that. All right, so we've got our first two predictions down. My third prediction is, going to be that AI and automation are going to take over, an admin's job. I think this is already kind of happening, to be totally honest with you. But I think like there's one really important thing to remember with this is that like I think admins that come in and um, you know, uh, I think one of the biggest hires that people are going to have in 2025 are going to be super high level admins. So not an admin that comes in and they're just kind of sitting at the front desk and they're checking people out, and they're not really doing anything. I think an important hire that's going to happen in 2025 is this high level admin that comes in, and it's really like a salesperson. So if you're a clinic owner and you prefer to treat and you don't want to do all the follow up and you don't want to sell on the phone and you kind of just want to run your clinic and be a little bit more on the clinical side of things, hiring the salesperson becomes super important because if you're spending money on advertising, you got tons of leads coming in the door. You need somebody that's going to man the phone, follow up with leads, get somebody on the phone, sell them that high ticket package. And I think that's going to be a really important role. I think you either have to have a key employee in place to do this or the clinic owner needs to do this. When I was at Ripple, I was doing all of this stuff. So this role here, I don't think that AI and automation is going to take over. But what I do think it will take over is some of like the lower level follow up side of things. I think you're going to start to hear this term called an AI agent come into play, and basically what this is going to be is this is going to be like an AI assistant, and like really good CRMs are doing this right now. So like HubSpot, inside of HubSpot CRM, they're starting to roll out these sales agents, and basically what it does. So anytime somebody fills out a form on the website, or they inquire about services, or they book a discovery call, or they interact with an email, or their lead score gets to a certain percentage, this agent will take all the information about this lead, and then it'll draft up an email, and it'll follow up with that lead based on the interactions that they just had. So say somebody inquired about services because of their hip and they're coming over from a family friend. This agent will take all of that information, it'll draft an email up, and it'll send the email out on your behalf. And basically, what you can train the agent to do is to do everything it can to book a discovery call with you. And again, I think this is where we're still at like the very first stages with this. But if we're talking a year from now, I think, kind of this like lower level follow up facilitation of leads to get a lead on your discovery call calendar, this is going to be the norm. And this is where something like HubSpot becomes so important because they are leading the charge on the AI side of things. And again, eventually you're not going to have to pay for an admin to do this, kind of again, mundane follow up. We're going to have AI bots to do like most of your sales process for you. So they're going to be setting calls for you. They're going to be following up with leads. Um, we even have we kind of have this advantage with anybody that uses PT Everywhere. We're able to understand appointment dates and number of sessions remaining. So this agent will be able to take that information and follow up with people based on when their appointment dates are and how many sessions they have remaining. So again, this is why I've hooked my wagon with Ripple and obviously with Patch too to a platform like HubSpot because they are leading the charge for all this stuff. And again, I think if you can save a couple $1,000s in overhead by not paying an admin and leveraging the software, I think that's where a lot of companies are going to be in the next couple of years. And especially with 2025, I do think that it's going to be less human powered and more AI powered, especially on this sales follow up side of things. I will say with that, I think that, I'm a little biased with this because I never hired an admin and I really leveraged our automation and our CRM to do all the follow up. And I was that salesperson. So I think like I see how this can be done. And I think a lot of clinic owners can do this as well. So, I think, my third prediction for 2025 is that clinic owners and clinics are going to not have kind of your more traditional admin. That's not something that shouldn't be your first hire anymore. I really don't believe that. I think you should instead leverage, your technology. And as the AI gets better, you're going to be able to build these agents out and they're going to be able to do all the follow up for you. And that's going to take the place of this lower level admin. And the beauty of an AI agent is that it doesn't take a day off and it never calls in sick. And you don't have to worry about it, leaving you for another job or, whatever the problems that you're dealing with your traditional admin. So that's why I think this is going to be super important. Low overhead. You can take that overhead and spend it on, just put it towards ads. I think there's a lot of benefits to this. So prediction number three, AI and automation is going to take over the traditional admin's roles in cash clinics. All right. Getting into prediction number four, this is a little bit more like on the clinic owner side of things and kind of dives into like the social media side of things. So, my fourth prediction for 2025 is that personal branding and like your personal brand that you, the clinic owner, has. I think clinic owners should start to try to have local celebrity status. So what does that mean? I think that, as a clinic owner, if you can humanize who you are and get people to connect with you, maybe again, you're a parent or you're a CrossFit athlete or you're a runner or you like to have a beer on a Friday night. I think the more that you can humanize yourself, the more people are going to connect with you and the more that they're going to trust your actual clinic. So I think there's a huge opportunity to become a local celebrity as clinic owners. And I think the reason I think this is that social media may seem like very watered down right now, but for local services, I do think that social media is on easy mode with like short form content. I think it's really, really easy to get reach locally. And if you just like if you create some of these the short form content that has like correct hooks and correct educational points and you're posting enough and you're doing posts like a day in the life or behind the scenes of running the clinic, you're talking about like relatable things like your family, maybe you're doing a behind the scenes on staff meetings that you have at your clinic, things that are different than talking about how to cure low back pain. So if you're being able to resonate with your local community, then I think that people are going to follow you. They're going to trust you. And then in turn, they're going to trust your clinic as well. We've seen it's working really well right now. Just like some traditional boosting strategies, with on Instagram in particular. You don't even have to set like an audience anymore. Facebook and Meta will understand what audience you're trying to get in front of, and very quickly you can get some reach in your local clinic, and you can start to get in front of more and more people. And again, I think the biggest thing with this is that once people start trusting you as a clinic owner, they're going to in turn trust your clinic as well. And I think building your personal brand can be the catalyst to growing your actual clinic too. So I think a lot of clinic owners, I think, look at this the opposite way. To be honest with you, that's exactly what I did when I was at Ripple. Is I really just pushed Ripple's brand versus my own brand. And I think I know if I was running Ripple still right now and I was living in Boston, I would be doing everything I can to connect with some of the local influencers and getting my brand out there and getting people to know me as a dog owner and as a husband and as a Boston resident and kind of the things I like to do, to build that trust so that people will then come in, and follow Ripple and come into the clinic from there. So I think the goal with social media is not having 100,000 followers or getting 1 million views on a post. It's really all about the trust that you can have with your community. And 3 or 4 thousand followers with a local trusted community versus 100,000 followers with a bunch of random other physical therapists. You would obviously rather have the 3,000 person following with the local ties there, because that's who you're trying to sell to at the end of the day. So, I think if you want to be the go-to PT clinic in your area, as a clinic owner, you need to start building your personal brand now. And, people are going to book with people that they feel connected with. And the bigger and more powerful your personal brand is, and the more consistent you are with your personal brand, the more people are going to resonate with you, the more people that are going to want to come in to your clinic. So my number 4 prediction for 2025 is that personal brand and your local celebrity status on social media is going to become one of the most important things and one of the biggest drivers to growing your brick and mortar clinic. All right, my 5th and last prediction. This one's a bit of a stretch, I think, but I do think the reason that this is my prediction is this is what I would be doing if I was still running Ripple. So my 5th prediction for 2025 is that solo providers that are out there that have started their own business, they're working for themselves, they moved out of the insurance-based system and started their own clinic up. I think those solo clinic owners are going to merge with bigger established cash-based businesses to create these bigger cash clinics. So that's my 5th prediction for 2025. The reason I think this is that a lot of the clinic owners that I speak with, especially the solo clinic owners, they don't really have the like entrepreneur itch, if you will. I think they're basically what happened is, I think a lot of people, like, they went through COVID. They either lost their job, their job like turned more like production based than it ever was before, and they kind of lost the love for the treating side of things at that clinic, and they quit and started their own thing up. And that's what I like to call it's an accidental entrepreneur basically. It's like, if they never set out to do this, they never set out to be a business owner, but they love the physical therapy and the treatment side of things so much, because they like that clinical side of things so much, then they just started their own business. So I think, because that was never really in the cards for them, they never really understood like what it is running a business. Like, if you're out there, you're listening to this and you do run a business, the shit is fucking hard, and a lot of times it is not fun. And if you all you care about is like just providing the best service, and the best care, and working with patients that you want to work with, you probably don't want to deal with all the other bullshit of running an actual business. So what I think, I do think that there are some clinic owners out there that do have that entrepreneurship gene in them, and they want to grow and they want to scale, and they have bigger vision with what they want to do with their clinic. So I think now is the perfect time where a solo clinic owner has worked by themselves for the last, maybe a couple of years. They haven't really grown. Maybe they've hired and it was a shit show. And they realize that they don't want to do that. And I think for those people, it's going to be a lot easier for them to continue treating the people that they want to treat, see their schedule, but not have to have the liability of overhead and rent and worry about paying taxes and worry about, some random patient coming in and suing them and just like really taking all of the liability off the table. And they can still treat as they want to treat. So they're able to do what they set out to do at the beginning of all of this stuff, but all of the liabilities then put on somebody else. And that's as long as that clinic owner and the clinic owner that owns the bigger clinic, if they take on the solo provider and they come to an agreement where, hey, you can still, like, I want you to function as, almost like your own brand underneath our umbrella, and you can see all of your patients. I'm going to pay you this salary. It's going to be guaranteed. You can take vacation, you can take sick time, you can work whatever hours you want. Like, that's really enticing to a solo clinic owner. So I think the interesting part with all of this will be like figuring out like what does that partnership look like, and is there a bio with that for the solo clinic owner? Do they get equity in the bigger clinic itself? Are they going to be like the lead PT at their location and they can help grow that? Are they just going to be an employee PT there? I think that will be the interesting part of how all of that shakes out. But again, why this is one of my predictions is because I do think that this is something that's going to start happening. And again, if I was in Boston, I would be trying to poach every single solo clinic owner, PT, Chiro that's out there, and I'll try to get them to live under my Ripple umbrella because they're incredible providers. They already have a following there. But what I would offer them, and I think what other bigger clinics can offer to some of these solo clinic owners, is that I'm going to handle, taking care of all of the bills, and I'm going to handle all of the taxes side of things, and all of the liability is now going to fall on me. And you don't have to go out and do all this crazy marketing. And I'm going to be the one that's getting new patients in the door. And if you don't want to manage people, I will do that for you. And we can really lean into what your vision was at the beginning of this, and we can do it all underneath my umbrella. And I think, again, for some of these accidental entrepreneurs, that's a really good deal for a lot of them. So I think a lot of solo clinic owners are going to merge with bigger clinics that already have established brand. They already have a couple PTs there. And it's a really nice way for them to continue treating as they want to treat, but take all the stress and bullshit out of running a business on your own, and they can just do what they set out to do. So that is my fifth and final prediction. To recap these five predictions for 2025, I've got, number one, I think paid advertising for all clinics is just going to become the norm. $1,500, $2,000 a month. That is just going to be part of running a business. And I think that's going to happen in 2025. Prediction number two is that LBOs, low barrier offers, are going to become standard practice. So anybody coming in the door for an evaluation, they're no longer spending $250 for that eval. They are coming in at a lower price point. So that works for your clinic. Prediction number three, I think AI, automation, and CRMs are going to take over the role of admins, and low-level admins just aren't going to be needed anymore. Prediction number four, I think that clinic owners are going to lean into local celebrity status, and they're going to become like micro influencers. And that is going to be one of the biggest ways that you can help grow your clinic, is to have that micro celebrity status in your community. And then prediction number five, I think that accidental clinic owners are going to merge with bigger practices to take some chips off the table for themselves. And for the bigger clinic owner, this is a really easy way for them to get A-plus talent in the door and help continue growing their clinic. So those are my predictions for 2025. I'll probably do a podcast at the end of the year to recap how correct I was with all of these. I think the biggest thing, to be honest with you guys, is that I think 2025 is going to be the biggest year of growth for cash clinics. Whether you're a chiro clinic, you're a PT clinic, a gym, anything like that. I think this alternative medicine and the route of people not going through insurance is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think a lot of clinic owners are getting a little bit more savvy on the marketing side of things as well. Obviously, I'm biased because we're helping a lot of these clinic owners grow, but getting them to understand how to email market, how to use the CRM to follow up with leads, how to actually do, legit and effective paid advertising. These are all things that, it's basically pouring gasoline on your business. And if you know how to sell, you know how to be a good leader, and you have the desire to grow, it's not very hard. We can do it. It's very easy to do. And I think there are a lot of clinics. There's going to be, I think a seven-figure clinic in 2025 is not going to be as rare as it is right now. I think it's going to be very easy to get to that point, and I'm excited to see it. I think 2025 is going to be a huge year. There's going to be a lot of change. AI is changing things. We'll go over that more in future podcast episodes. And I'm really excited. I think it's going to be awesome. So if you guys have any predictions that you want to run by me, definitely follow me on Instagram. Send it over to me. Leave some comments on the pod, and I will talk to you guys soon.